just build like a anti-3 meta base right now. I mean, everyone knows super dragons are very annoying, so I'll definitely look out for that, and queen charges in general, and I will just kind of see wherever it takes us. For me, like the most important building in general, or the building I start most of the time with, is the Town Hall. So yeah, I will just start with that. It's a pretty standard Town Hall compartment for now. Nothing too crazy. And yeah, to make sure that your base doesn't get charged too easily, a single furnace most of the time a pretty good choice. Just place it here for now. We'll see if I decide to move it a bit later. Kind of depends wherever it takes me. So yeah, this is the start for now. And yeah, I normally, like on those corners, I like to keep gaps to kind of keep them guessing what what traps there could be, like Tesla, Skellies, anything like that. So yeah, that's a good way of just making it hard to predict as an attacker, for the attacker.
Do you always start by trying to defend the queen charges? Is that like a attack you most often see in going into Legends League? Is that sort of something you usually try and defend, or?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, queen charges are very powerful, but they're also like you are able to defend them. So that's something I definitely take a look at. Because yeah, I mean, if you can make a lot of queen charges hard, then you can kind of predict where the attacker is probably coming from, and that is already super helpful for the traps, for everything. So yeah, queen charge is definitely a big thing, and a lot of, like, especially pro players really like queen charges. I mean, it's definitely one of the most fun hits to do. So that's another plus, kinda.
Does it make you really annoyed when you build for a certain style, for example, like a queen charge, whatever, and then someone just comes and smashes the base with spam?
For sure, that's really frustrating, and the spam in general can be really frustrating at times. But yeah, I mean, it's part of the game, so you have to kind of adjust accordingly. But yeah,
For sure.
spam is definitely frustrating. So what I really like to do, I mean, there's enough crazy guys who try to skelly donut and stuff like that. So scatters in the core are oftentimes a no-go, because scatter skelly almost everyone can do. With multis, it's still, I mean, it's possible if you know what you're doing, but it's at least a bit harder. But yeah, it's basically something which is impossible to stop. So you need some buildings in the core, so you can't stop that completely. But yeah, I rather prefer multis in the core at the moment. That's at least the way yeah, I'm leaning.
So when you
Okay.
start building, do you usually like focus on a specific strategy? Like I know you said like queen charges, for example, but would you be like trying to defend a queen charge, I don't know, queen charge into dragon riders or something like that, or do you just try and bait out a queen charge and then it doesn't really matter about what the sort of back end strategy is?
It depends also on the opponent, what cup we build for and whatever. But in general, like, I wouldn't say I build completely just for one strategy. I kind of see where it takes me, because it's really hard to, like, if you force it too hard as a builder, like if you say, okay, I want them to do this, then they will probably just be smart enough to realize that and just not do it. So if you force the issue a bit too much, it's probably not going to be helpful. So yeah, that's. But in general, yeah, I mean, you can always kind of see where it takes you with the base. I don't have like one style I kind of do. I don't think that's really working for most of the time. So yeah, just like try to be flexible and see what you can do with the bases.
Yeah, so do you want to just talk us through a little bit about like kind of how you're setting things out at the moment, why you're putting things in specific areas?
Um, so basically, I mean, there's like some key defenses, I would say. So sketchers are obviously the key defenses, and you don't want the attacker to get too many of those key defenses too easily together. I mean, they can also protect each other because those are like the most important buildings. But at the same time, they also give the most value. So especially now with the Flameflinger, you kind of need to make sure that those key defenses are defended. For example, the scatter here. But yeah, at the same time, like I said, you don't want, you just don't want them to get too much value with, for example, a Sui or like a simple queen charge and stuff like that. So yeah, kind of have to be careful for that too. Did that answer the question?
Yep, for sure.
Okay. If you like see any question, obviously also in the chat, you can kind of tell me because I'm definitely going to miss it.
Yeah, for sure. There you go. If anyone in the chat has any questions for Sir Iron about anything other than very personal stuff, then feel free to fire them in the chat. The more questions about base building, the better.
Okay, so yeah, I mean the eagle is also obviously a very important building. It's probably if it would hit everything, it would probably be the second most important building. Sadly, sometimes the eagle decides not to, but that's another story. But yeah, the eagle is definitely one of those key buildings I talked about. So yeah, you definitely want to make sure that it's well protected, and the king does a pretty good job with that. So yeah.
An interesting question here in the chat, and I'm not sure how you'll answer this, but how do you counter super dragons? Is there a counter?
I mean, you can kind of limit the attacker to either choosing certain angles, or not doing it maybe at all. I mean, you can. The troop is really OP, and you can kind of force everything at some point a bit. But I mean, the CC plays a big role because everyone who kind of does those dragon hits or Suis kind of knows that, yeah, like it's just really painful to go into that Hound CC and you kind of know, the heroes will lure it, the heroes will be kept busy, the dragons might get pulled away from it, and it's really frustrating as an attacker. So you don't want that to happen. So yeah, that's definitely one way to kind of take care of it.
Yeah, for sure. Kronos says he's a big fan.
Yeah, I'm also a big fan of him, so that's awesome. Okay.
Fluxy says, who do you think are the best German builders?
I mean, are there that many German builders? I mean, the Tribe team has some good builders, for example, Kronos. And Yo-Yo is actually also a very good base builder, especially in Legends. I mean, kind of basically, Yo-Yo supplies all of Legends with his bases. Like half the Legend bases you probably fail every day are probably his. at least that's what happens to me. Like every time I post a replay or something, you is like, oh yeah, that's my base, and I'm like, yes, great, thanks, Yo-Yo. But yeah, he's a really good base builder. And Vale was also a very good base builder, but I mean, he's retired now. So yeah.
As far as base testing goes, do you have like a sort of team that you know helps you test bases, or do you find yourself testing them yourself most of the time, or how do you kind of go about testing them?
I mean, we test together in the team, and like for our alternate bases at least, and yeah, I mean, we kind of know each other very well and work together a long time now, so that obviously also helps, makes it easier to work with each other. So yeah, testing together is most of the time quite fun. Depends who's testing your bases. Can be really frustrating. Like if, I don't know, Mars does like a super weird queen charge, which he almost always does, and then you as a builder, like, what the hell am I supposed to do about this? But yeah, it's most of the time we just test in a team, like in the team.
Yeah, fair enough. All right, going back to the base you're building at the moment, do you want to talk us through maybe a couple of the aspects you've got? I know you've got most of the key defenses down at the moment, so do you want to just talk us through it a little bit?
Yeah, so yeah, exactly. I kind of focus now on the like key defenses in buildings. In general, like, I mean, I will probably now like still change some stuff. There's always like some stuff I also notice a bit later in the base where I'm like, oh, okay, I think I should change this. But like in general, I mean, it's like the core multi with like the open channel, the tonal compartment with the single. I'm not 100% sure about the CC placement yet. That really kind of depends. I kind of wanted to be covering the eagle compartment a bit, so it's just making sure that you can just, like, for example, right now probably CC would be kind of too late, so you could just sui into the eagle and probably air spam, for example, from this side, from the 9 o'clock side. And I mean, the blimp is far and scary, but yeah, probably you can do it. So yeah, I will kind of see what I can do about that. But yeah, that's basically the principal idea. I mean, the charges, I think I can still make the charge a lot harder, and then we kind of see wherever it takes us.
Yeah, for sure. An interesting question here from Sunmaster. Do you ever build a base like halfway through or all the way through and then just go, nah, this isn't a good base, and scrap it completely?
Oh yeah, for sure. That happens a lot. Hopefully not this time. But yeah, I mean, for sure. There's always some bases where you're like, I like the idea, and then you finish the base, and you're like, yeah, okay, this didn't work out. And I mean, that's fine. That's kind of with everything. Like, yeah, not everything will work on the first try, and sometimes you have a good idea, but you just, like, I've also had bases where I just started and I thought, okay, this is bad, but then I was like, that's actually interesting. I think I can like retry, and yeah, then the other base was actually way better than the first try. So that's a really interesting question.
Yeah. I've noticed a lot of base builders have their own sort of like style. You'll be able to look at a base and go, oh, I definitely know who's built this. Do you sort of find yourself doing similar things over and over again with bases? You know, I know you said at the start you always start with the town hall and then build from there. Is there sort of other things you follow along and a sort of process you go through?
The thing is, like, I would say, I mean, there's a couple base builders who also have their own style. Like, for example, Stefan really did those like channel styles, like Stefan from Tribe. And I mean, he's also a really good base builder. But for example, most of the time when Stefan builds a base, I can definitely tell that Stefan built this base. Um, and like I try to always kind of reinvent myself. So I always try to do something new and come up with new ideas. So, for example, I like you said, I most of the time start with the Torno, but I don't always do it. So yeah, I think sometimes it's also it's better if you kind of try something new, and that's what I'm also doing a lot of times.
Fair enough.
Okay. So yeah, also with the heroes, I mean, you don't want them too close to each other. Like I said, BK by the Eagle can be a good decision. But it also, yeah, it really depends kind of on the base and what your goals are. As you saw now, I moved the CC, and with the BK there, if you Sui in there, the BK will attract the BK and definitely lure the CC. And also with the charges, like here the tunnel compartment, I kind of changed the wall now, so it's harder to access from 11 o'clock. So yeah, I will kind of like look or decide now if I kind of want to rework the tunnel compartment somehow, or if I think it's fine. And yeah, one big topic is definitely sweepers. Like sweepers can be really good against charges. It's super annoying to charge against sweepers, but also obviously sweepers are good for air. So those are the two things I look for when I place my sweepers.
An interesting question in the chat there from Mackenzo, another streamer. He's asking, how do you come up with new ideas? Do you find yourself sort of building similar things over and over? It kind of touches on what we previously talked about there, but how do you come up with new ideas? Do you look at other bases, for example, or do you just find yourself being like, oh, that's a really good idea, that's what I'm going to do?
Definitely getting inspiration from others is a good idea. I mean, it's like hard to invent something new all the time yourself. There's always other really good base builders and players around. So I mean, it doesn't hurt to take a look at what they are doing, and most of them like are really coming up with great ideas too. So why not benefit from that? And yeah, that's what I would definitely say. Inspiration is definitely something which can help a lot. Okay, so yeah. Okay, I think the tonal compartment I'm actually quite happy with it. I'm not 100% sure about the sweeper. I would probably put it towards 3 o'clock. Because I think tonal charges can be definitely defended here. The CC time with the single. I mean, there's still options for traps, obviously. You can trap the tonal charges pretty well. Now, I mean, everyone who kind of plays Legend knows that, yeah, hybrid is kind of back, so tonal charges are definitely more interesting again for a lot of people. But yeah, that's. Is there? Oh yeah, Bob is complaining about that. One thing Bob and everyone who kind of worked with me as a builder complains about is that I'm someone who's really into like saving walls. I mean, there's basically like you can waste a lot of walls. People don't tend to always agree with me on that they are wasting walls, but I can assure you they are. But yeah, like walls is definitely a big thing because they can be quite important. Okay, I think I would do this.
As a builder, does it do you find it really frustrating when Supercell brings in like a new key defense? Like obviously you were building before, they brought in scatter shots and such. When they bring those new defenses in, and you're like, oh great, now I'm gonna have to learn how to defend, or I'm gonna build a base to defend with these. And is that something you find annoying, or do you like getting new defenses to play around with them, or?
Do you mean like new defenses or new troops or general in general new
New
stuff?
defenses. So when you get new stuff for your
Hmm.
bases, do you find that that's good, or are you a bit like, oh no, I don't want anything new to play with. I like how it is right now, or
I mean, I'm at the point where I would say defenses are a bit too weak for sure. So yeah, just give me new defenses, please, Supercell. Um, so yeah.
fair enough, fair
uh,
enough.
so yeah, I would be really looking forward if some new defenses get added. But yeah, that's just my personal opinion, kind of. Okay, so I will kind of see what I can do with those 3 walls. One, like, let's say a small issue I can have, I'm not 100% sure about the 3 o'clock compartment. It's a bit too exposed for my liking. So I'm either thinking to move the queen back basically to the multi. Yeah, I'll actually do that. I think that works just fine. Okay. And one other thing with the super dragons right now, I mean, they're super OP. You should definitely make sure to have as little kind of buildings touching each other as possible, like at least key buildings. Like, for example, air defenses, you can see it now on the base. Right now, none of my air defenses touch anything, and it should kind of be that way. Because you just don't want, the air defenses just to go down from the splash. So that's definitely something to look out for. Okay, let me see. By the way, if I miss any interesting questions, just hit me with them. Even though my multitasking could be better, but okay. Yeah. By the way, while we're talking about the game, for example, one defense I really think should be buffed is the mortar. Like, they're so useless right now, or always been, and it's kind of sad. Like, it's basically like every defense always kind of got their purpose, and yeah, the mortar just got left out. Like, there's nothing to do with the mortar. It's,
What changes would you make to the mortar to make it better,
I
if you
mean,
could?
it's way too slow, way too slow. And also it should do more damage, and it should be harder to take down. Like, one loon, one minion, or one loon, one archer, or before they actually, I mean, they already got a new level, but before you could just trade one loon with the mortar. That's
Yeah.
it's not how it should be, in my opinion. But yeah, that's, I mean, I'm not making the game, so not my decision, I guess. But yeah.
An interesting question came in there from Park. He says, "How do you decide with your expos whether you have them on air or ground? Do you usually, try to use them to defend against certain things by putting them on air or on ground, or is it just
Mm-hmm.
sort of something you do at the end?"
It's a very good question. I mean, in the end, it really depends also on the opponent. I would say you will face, and what they like to do for their hits. But in general, I'm a huge fan of air bows. But also in this meta with the flame thinger, and also with heroes just being OP, it's tough to have, like, you can't have 4 air bows. So yeah, I'm like, right now I'm just kind of trying, thinking where do I need a ground bow for example, flame finger, or to cause severe damage to a queen charge. But yeah, that's kind of where I'm coming from.
Fair enough. There was another interesting question there from Kronos. He's asking, at what point do you start considering potential entries on a base?
Um, I mean, we all kind of like play the game, like also as builders, and that is what I meant with that. And I mean, I'm always kind of looking at the base, kind of how I would hit it as well, obviously. But I also try to consider what other people see when they look at the base. And so basically, from the second I build the base, I'm already considering what other people will see it on it, because I mean, a bait only makes sense if other people think this plan looks good. If other people look at the base and are like, no way in I will ever do this, then it's not a good bait. Yeah, another thing is definitely also dead zones. I think dead zones are huge. So you can place Teslas in their traps, in their all that good stuff, and I think that's also really important. Yeah.
Whenabouts do you start thinking about your Tesla farm if you decide to go down the Tesla farm route?
I think Tesla farms are very good. It's in general, Tesla farms can help with against pathing, against funneling, can be on the back end, which is really good. And in general, I think I'm definitely a fan of Tesla farms. Especially, I mean, I remember like last year in ESL Mobile Open, there was this war we had against MCS, and I mean, we knew, like, Mask is in the chat right now. He was very confident that Remy O will zap Lalo base, so he put all the Teslas over the boom. Maybe I'm saying the wrong name now, but it's I think it was one of those two, and they put all the Teslas in the core, and they knew he would zap the entire core, which is like two Inferno towers he zapped, and then there was the entire Tesla farm in the base, and that made the hit fail. So yeah, I think Tesla farms in the base can be super good. Tesla farms on the back end, Tesla farms making the funnel harder. Yeah, you just kind of need to know what you want them for.
Fair enough. Yeah, pretty OP then.
So yeah, definitely Tesla farm supporter.
Do you have a favorite type of base to build? A question there from Jop in the chat. Whether it's like a
different, like a certain type, or
yeah, he said like diamonds, rings, boxes.
oh, I definitely prefer building anti-freeze. But I mean, symmetrical can also be fun. Like symmetrical can be fun. It's not my favorite type of bases to build, for sure not. But it's sometimes a lot easier because you just do basically one side and then you do the other side the same. So it's eventually symmetrical, obviously. So yeah, it can be a lot easier. I think you can build symmetrical bases a lot faster. But yeah.
Fair enough. So obviously you're using an iPad at the moment, I believe. But Sunmaster's asking, are you phone gang or tablet iPad gang?
I used to be phone, and then Bob told me to switch, and yeah, I had to switch. And honestly, it's way better. At least hitting for sure. Base building is also more enjoyable. Just the bigger screen and all of that is definitely a big plus. So yeah, I'm now iPad gang, but I used to be phone gang, I guess. But yeah, I mean, there's a lot of pro players also running around with phones, so they make it work somehow.
Okay, right now I'm noticing you sort of just moving a few bits and bobs around. What's your thinking
Yeah,
on the base as it is right now? Are you happy with how it's looking, or are you thinking there's some big
I'm
changes
I'm
needed?
I'm pretty satisfied overall. I mean, one thing in general I can also say about base building is that traps can really break or make a base. Um, So it's really, really hard to say, like on the first look, if the base is really good. I mean, you can kind of see sometimes. I mean, also like in our team, we also work together with other base builders for worlds and other competitions, and partly to get like a bit more variety in that stuff, but also just yeah, to get some good bases for example, ESL Mobile Open. And on some bases you can straight away see, okay, this base could be something, and some bases you like, yeah, I'm not sure, don't think this will work out. But yeah, I mean, that's how it is. So yeah, I'm pretty happy actually with the base. I'm not 100% sure about the sweepers, to be completely honest. I'm still considering facing the one sweeper to the Torno, and the other one would probably face towards 6 in somewhere in that direction, or would face towards 7. Those are the two questions I have right now, or like the question I'm considering. And yeah, I'm also like with the Zoham hit, kind of credits to him for that hit, even though it's really disgusting to defend it. You kind of need storages around the tunnel to make that sneaky part, sneaky for tunnel hard. You don't need all the storages, but some definitely don't hurt. But yeah. Okay, which tunnel building you enjoyed most? That's a good question, Park. Honestly, I kind of miss the good old days, I would say. I mean, I've been building since, when was TWL? 2018, 17. I probably started around that time to really build a lot. I mean, before I was also building my own bases, but then I started to build for other people too, and to build for the team I was playing in, FW, Fake Wargasm back then. And yeah, so that's definitely that was definitely a really interesting time, and which was a lot of fun for sure. Okay. Yeah, unfortunately, one thing I definitely have to mention is that I don't have the 6 builder hut, which is really annoying if I, for example, build for the others. So yeah, that's sometimes a bit frustrating, because I most of the time just leave gaps for them. But yeah, I mean, it's my own fault.
Do you not want to
Can't do
grind to
much.
get the 6th builder?
I really hate the builder base. Really don't want to do it. I mean, I'm doing a bit now, like every day, whatever, but it's every time painful. It's
Yeah.
really painful. I don't enjoy it at all, and yeah. But I guess you gotta do what you gotta do.
Yeah, for sure. So I know you said obviously you also play the game. You don't just build. Do you
Mhm.
actively do Legends League and stuff?
I just got back to Legends like yesterday. But yeah, I also do hitting, and I also like Mask kind of got me back into doing a lot of friendly wars recently, or like Mask and that group we hang out with. Um, so yeah, it's been fun, but I mostly just do creative hits. I mean, some of y'all maybe saw me posting my Valk hits on Twitter just because I thought, okay, what troops is barely is used, and like I don't see really anyone using Valks except maybe like one for Skellies. So I thought, okay, let's try something creative with Valkyries. And yeah, it's fun to mess around like that, but it's obviously different than playing like normal wars or something. Okay, I think I've seen this question now like 4 times, so I will answer it. Black Spells ask, when does the island decide to go with bigger comps with more than one key defense in it? It really depends what you want to defend, but I think it's sometimes good, but most of the time I'm not a huge fan of it. I mean, you definitely need to make sure that the Sui can't get both. A Queen Charge most definitely probably will. The question is if the back end works. But yeah, I think bigger compartments like that can work, but it's tough. Yeah. So let's see. Okay. Okay, I'm running out of those.
With the placement of your trash and stuff, obviously that's what you're doing at the moment. Is there actually some sort of strategy to placing it down, or is it just kind of putting stuff here, there, and everywhere? Because I've noticed like you're putting collectors on the inside and then barracks on the outside, stuff like that. Is there, a thinking behind that?
That's one of the things from back in the day, I guess, too. I mean, not too many people do it, but one thing is definitely bowler bounce. So I always try to have like if you here check the top, I always have like the higher HP building on the inside, basically protected by the other building. And yeah, I mean, not too many people do it, so it's not that relevant anymore, but it's still definitely helpful. And I mean, also for sneakies, I obviously like have my collectors and whatever more against sneakies, where I could also see a zap or something like this. I also take storages and that kind of stuff. So yeah, that's kind of why and how I do it. Okay, and also I think someone asked about army camps. Like, I mean, Bob definitely disagrees, but I definitely say builder huts don't belong in the base, like inside of the base. Bob always tries to do that. He gets hated by the whole team for it, but he still does it anyway. But yeah, it's.
Wait, was that builder huts or army camps?
Army camps, yeah, sorry, my bad.
No, it's all good. Just when you said builder huts there, I was like, but I thought builder huts were actually useful now.
Yeah, luckily they are. But yeah, like Mars said, it's really Bob trademark. Like any base you ever saw from us with a army camp inside, it was definitely Bob's base. So I guess that's his way to trademark his bases. But yeah,
fair enough.
we are not a fan of it. Yeah, I mean, like with we, I always mean our team. So yeah, I think I would just about. Okay, I need to find some place for one building. What to do? Okay, like before the Super Dragon meta, I would have just put the building here at 8 o'clock where the scatter compartment is, but I don't want anything touching that air defense. But I mean, if you guys will copy the space, you can put the builder hut here, the 6th hut, instead of the wall. And yeah, 1 second. Okay, so okay, where do I put this last? Okay, I think I would just do it here. In general, also with the trash, I mean, I also talked with other base builders, or told other base builders this before I worked with and all that stuff. in general, it's, in my opinion, like really important to kind of leave gaps by the for the trash. So you have space for the Teslas, for traps, for all that good stuff. Keep them guessing, let them not know what's going on or what to expect. And I think that's definitely how to do it. Okay, I think I will keep it like this. Okay, now we get to the interesting part, the traps. So now the question is, what do we see on this base? I mean, the Torno is one of the key defenses in the game. Yeah, you can climp it, obviously. You can take it down with the heroes, with Queen Charge, with like a Sui. And I mean, there's also like obviously kinda, you can also do Warwicker if you want to, but Blimp is just way more effective. So yeah, that's how it is. Okay, I don't want this. Okay, so now about the traps. It really depends what you want to defend, and that's one thing I would definitely say. There is no perfect traps. So yeah, one thing is, if you, for example, I mean, they're watching right now. If you, for example, watch RPG, I would probably bait the Blizzard between Multi and Scatter at 3 with Warbreak, because Timtastic will do that. Now he definitely will never do that again against us, so maybe he will, who knows. But yeah, I mean, you can actually trap that with the traps if you want to. You can bait that, but it's also maybe not that easy. So I don't think this has to be trapped. Something I will want to trap is the Scatter at 9, the Sui heroes kind of in that area. Won't be like completely hard trapped, but just Skellies, Teslas against it. Giant bombs are always also kind of huge. So in general, with giant bombs, it really depends. Also, in general, like, I can kind of tell you what you can look out for, but there's no completely right or wrong. It also really depends on what the strategy of choice will be for your opponent. For example, with giant bombs, I mean, you can use giant bombs against Blizzards, against Suis, against Hawks and Hybrid, if people do Hybrid. So yeah, that's on all those cases it can be used.
With the skeleton traps, do you find you usually use them to just sort of hold up heroes, or?
Yeah, mostly heroes. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's I mean, there's some also cases where it, for example, air trap could be really nice, but most of the time just straight up heroes to stop the Suis, to stop Royal Champ backend, that's kind of stuff.
Yep.
So yeah. Okay. About the traps now. If I look at the base, for example, for the springs, I always kind of ask myself, I think someone would hybrid this? If you make the a charge, doesn't look that bad. Then I would put the springs at 3 o'clock going down to 6 o'clock, kinda. But if I don't think someone will hybrid this, the springs are not really relevant for hybrid, so you can use them against headhunters. With headhunters, it's really hard to predict how they path. You really have to test that. But I would just go ahead and put them against hybrid in this case. I think it's definitely a bit forced, but people could still do it. So yeah, I would just put them against hybrid for now. where hybrid will be going through the base. But yeah, as I said, you definitely need to test and see. So there's no completely right or wrong on this.
Yeah, for sure. Obviously, the clan castle troops are a major part of any base defending. At what point do you start thinking about what you want in the CC?
It's really opponent depending, but at the moment I would say in general, I mean, there's like a couple of choices you can have, but most of the time Hound CC is the best choice. In my opinion, either Hound with headhunters, archers, or also Ice Golem can also be cool. Triple Ice Golem can also be a good CC choice, but then you kind of really need to want to know that they really encounter the CC, because if it just gets pulled and then they lalo or do air, then it really doesn't matter. Nothing will happen. Unless obviously you have like a backend royal champ. But yeah, those are the CCs, and then obviously there's still damage CC. Like super minion CC is obviously very strong if it's in the right place at the right time. It's a very nice choice for sure. Okay. Okay, the Hound. Like one thing, for example, also with the red mines, you definitely have to consider Hound pathing and that good stuff. So that also matters. For example, in this, I'm not 100% sure about those red mines by the Wizard Tower. If you would Lalo over Town Hall, for example, Hound could pop there. But right now, at least, I don't see a super obvious plan where you Lalo Town Hall like this. So it's fine in this case. Yeah.
So you said before about building against certain teams and stuff. Would
Mm-hmm.
you build a base and then try and bait it to a certain team, or would you just start from fresh and build a completely new base to defend one individual player or sort of the attack strategies you know a team is going to use?
It's both can work for sure, but in general, I mean it's hard. Like there are some players where I think you can bait them. Like you know what they will do, and you can kind of predict what they do, but it's not for all players. Like for some players, I don't think it makes sense, and you kind of waste. I mean, there's some players who are really aware of what they can get baited with, and then it doesn't really make sense to try to bait them. But yeah, it depends. Okay. Okay. Yeah, the same thing also with like trapping Tauner blimps and all that good stuff. I mean, it's hard to trap all the angles for sure. And you most of the time don't have to. So yeah. Are there any questions? What's your opinion about box spaces? I mean, box spaces can be super annoying. You definitely know that if you face them in Legends. But I think it's hard to have so many different variations of box spaces. So at some point, you kind of know what you're going up against when you face box spaces. And once people do, it's yeah, for most of them at least, if they know what they're doing, not that hard anymore. And then it kind of loses its purpose, I guess. Box spaces worked really well at Worlds, I think, because they were kind of forgotten a bit. That definitely helped them.
On average, how many sort of bases are you building per week? Obviously, I'm sure you'll be constantly building for your team and stuff, but how many sort of orders and stuff do you get on top of what you build for your team?
Oh, that's a tough question. It really depends, kind of on how much time I have, how much I want to build, how many ideas I have. But yeah, I mean, yeah, I can. Yeah, I don't think I can really specify that.
Fair enough, fair enough. How many is the most bases you've built, you think, sort of in a week or something like that?
Um,
A
like
lot.
probably worlds. For worlds, I built a lot of bases. Like not this worlds. I mean, this worlds too, but I think last worlds was even more. Um, and yeah, you do build like I don't know 20, 30 bases, something like that. Like, I mean, there's also sometimes days where I just pump out bases, and there's also weeks where I just build a couple. So, yeah.
Do you want to talk us maybe through a little bit about the process of how you guys decided on bases for Worlds? I've spoken to other builders from other teams and stuff, and they sort of came up with loads of different bases, and then they tested them all and decided on certain bases for certain teams. Did you guys sort of do a certain thing, or?
Yeah. Yeah, so I think we made one major mistake this was. I mean, I think there's two things. I think our opponents, Tribe and Batzinger, had kind of their war of the year, maybe. I mean, Tribe pulled off another perfect war, but I mean, it was like, don't want to take anything away from them, but it was a definitely outstanding performance. Um, but like, I think it was like they were kind of like on that hype train against us, and everything kind of went right for them, and unfortunately not everything went right for us. So yeah, that's sometimes how it is. But I think we also were just overthinking it a bit. I think we had better bases, which we didn't use, and not not even necessarily because we thought, okay, we want to save them for later, but we kind of thought we could predict better. We could predict better what Tribe would do than we could in the end. So yeah, that's yeah. I mean, yeah, and yeah, we got outplayed actually by both. I mean, Tribe basically did their Dragon super minion build. We've never really. I mean, it was around there, and which is actually super sad. I said jokingly before to Stefan, who was one of Tribe's base builders that day, that blimp is super funny. You guys have to defend that against us, and then they use it against us.
Yeah.
That was afterwards. I was like, damn. Hopefully, it wasn't me who gave them the idea. But yeah, it's like, I mean, in the end, Bazinga also did like the bowler smash that way. Like you just don't defend hits like this. Or like, I mean, now you maybe do, but back then, like we never saw someone hit like that. So, yeah,
Yeah.
it's like those two hits each war you can't really defend, can predict, and then besides that is yeah, they were just on a tear against us. It's really sad to obviously lose like that, but it happens. There's always some luck involved, and definitely luck wasn't on our side that day.
Yeah, for sure. All right, do you want to just sort of have some final thoughts on this base? Maybe talk us through a couple of things. There was
Yeah.
quite a lot you went through in the base that you maybe didn't touch base on. So just walk us through your sort of thinking behind what you
Yeah.
built here.
Okay, so about the tonneau compartment, I mean, the Zoham is always possible to kind of force in that regard. But yeah, I mean, I kind of made it expensive. Or you can still make it more expensive. If you know someone will use the Zoham, you can still put more traps against the giant bombs and so on, springs against the super goblins and whatnot. So yeah, in general, the tonneau compartment. I mean, the tonneau is yeah, you can sui for it. That's definitely one thing I would consider. Also, maybe with choosing CC, it depends. If you know someone likes to really sui just for tonneau and then some other value, and then we leave up the CC, maybe damage CC could be a good option. But in general, on this space, I think count is the way to go. What I really prefer is also that like the key defenses can kind of cover each other. I mean, at 3 o'clock, the multi reaches the scatter, the core multi reaches the single, and yeah, a lot of other core like defenses around him. The one Tesla in the core, if someone zaps the multi and the sweeper, so you still have those red bombs. Yeah, so that would be something. And about the traps, like I said, you can still change a lot. You can, if you face someone who likes air hits, you can change the sweepers. If you prefer, if you face someone who does charges, those sweepers I think should do the job well. But yeah, I also had the other option where the sweeper was facing 3 and 9. That could also be could really work on the space. But in general, it's really hard to say without really testing.
Fair
Yeah.
enough. So, final thoughts on this? Are you happy with what you built here?
Yeah, I think I'm pretty happy. I mean, we will see how it does. Obviously now, like I said, traps are a big thing. So yeah, if you obviously now use the space like this against someone who saw the traps, then the person will probably know how to avoid those traps, and then trapping that doesn't make that much sense anymore. But yeah, I'm pretty happy with the base, how it went. It's not something completely outside of the box, but yeah, I'm happy with the base.
Good stuff. Awesome. All right. Any final things you would like to say to the chat?
Yeah, I mean, just one thing, definitely stay updated about our team. There will be news soon, so yeah, just stay tuned. And it was a pleasure to have you all watch me. It was a lot of fun to be here. So yep, that's it.
Yeah, thank you so much for coming on, man. It was a pleasure watching you build. Really interesting to sort of see your thinking behind a lot of things. I know, well, I certainly learned a lot there, and I'm sure the rest of the chat learned a lot. So we really appreciate you jumping on. Just want to say as well, make sure if you guys haven't already followed, feel free to do so. You can also check out Sir Iron over on Twitter. If one of the mods could chuck his Twitter in the chat, that would be OP. But yeah, thank you so much for coming on, man. Really do appreciate you.
Awesome. It was a pleasure, and take care, guys.
Cheers.